name is Irene Kurka and I cordially welcome you to my podcast, Neue, Musik, Leben. I have studied classical singing and I'm still singing classical music, but also so much contemporary music and performance and multimedia, whatever there is. If you would like to know more about me, please look at my website www.irenekurk.de. I will put this into the show notes for you. You could also subscribe to my monthly newsletter, and I also invite you to subscribe to this podcast here because it supports my work and it makes the podcast more visible. And yes, this podcast is now really listened worldwide, which I'm really excited about, that there are people out there, probably very far from me also, and you're interested in new music and you're interested how I approach this and how I talk with people about new music, their being, and how we share with you the behind the scenes, the insider knowledge, and that I really like to bring you the human beings out of the new music world so much closer. I'm very thankful for all the emails and feedbacks I receive from you. And I'm cooperating with the NMZ, that is the Neue Musikzeitung, which is one of the most important German music papers, or a paper in a German language. Yes, let's put it that way. Yes, I'm really excited about my guest today. It is the amazing flutist Camilla Hoitenga, and I think we covered so many great topics. So let's enjoy the interview with Camilla Hoitenga. Hello, Camilla Hoitenga. I welcome you cordially into my podcast today.
Thank you, Irene.
And I'm excited that I have a guest here within my own rooms in my apartment. And that's also exciting because oftentimes I have the interviews through Zoom because the people live far away. And you also live far away, but you're often in Cologne. And so I'm so lucky that you came over.
Thank you. And it was a beautiful day to travel to a new place in Düsseldorf.
Yes. Thank you. It's gorgeous springtime. I would like to know, how did you find your way into new and experimental music?
Oh, yeah. I think my first exposure to new music was in college. I went to a liberal arts college because I wasn't allowed to go to Juilliard. I had to get a liberal arts background, but I had a very, very good flute teacher. But I also had very, very good professors who introduced me. We had semesters of early music, normal music, as I called it then. And I had a fantastic professor for contemporary music who exposed me. This is in the 70s, right? So we learned everything from Stockhausen, Aus den 7 Tagen, to Milton Babbitt, to, I don't know, everything there. But I just heard all kinds of interesting sounds there. And that was my first exposure, and I thought it was all really cool because I'd grown up with Tchaikovsky and Mussorgsky and all that. So anything that was either way before that or way after that was exciting territory for me.
It's really exciting that you were so lucky to have a teacher.
I was incredibly lucky,
so good at that.
Yeah.
Even though I often hear from flutists that the chance that you also do contemporary music is quite high, or?
Well, yeah, because we don't have the Beethoven concertos and all that. So once we've done our basic repertoire and our Ibert and Nielsen concertos, there are many, 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 but there's only a couple that are actually in the canon, so to speak. Once you've done that, then like what? You can get bored otherwise. So.
What represents good new music to you?
Actually, I've given that a lot of thought because I've been in this business for a long time, over 40 years now. And I realized that one of my criteria is that whatever the piece is, whatever the genre, I want it to be or to feel compelling. I want to have the idea that this piece had to be written. There's so many times I think, well, he's just imitating so-and-so. And imitation itself is not wrong, but it has to have some kind of angle on it, some kind of urgency that this had to be done, and not just kind of an intellectual exercise or that this is the currently accepted genre, things like that. So And I can feel it, and sometimes I can analyze it. And sometimes it's interesting. It's independent of whether I like it or not. I can still recognize that, okay, this is a like totally legit piece, but it's not my cup of tea. So it's not about that, but I want the sense that it has to be written.
I mean, since you have been playing so much already, or as you just said yourself, you're in this business for quite a time, would you say that the way how you choose pieces now or whatever 20 years ago or even longer time ago has changed? And what have you observed about your selection process?
That's also a good question. Yes, I think definitely has changed. At the beginning, I chose many, many things just out of curiosity, because I'd never seen things like that before, and I wanted to decipher the scores. And I also liked the challenge, so I chose difficult things just to prove that I could. Now I don't feel like that difficulty is a criteria. I've been there, done that. And I've also memorized lots and lots of music, and I've done exactly as Stockhausen wanted, etc. So now I'm giving myself more the freedom to pick things based on what my aesthetic preference of the moment is.
Because I have observed that with myself as well. I mean, even though maybe I'm not as long as you in the business. And years ago, I had a talk with Salome Kammer, the singer, and I think it was already 10 years ago or so. And she also said to me, I mean, she's also a little older than me, and she said, "Well, Irene, I don't have to climb on every mountain, and I pick now." And at first, I was kind of like, how can she say this? You have to sing everything. And but
no.
Within the last few years, it also has changed for me. And I've gotten much more picky. And it's like she says some things, I'm like, yeah, have done that. I don't need to do this again. Oh, no, I've proven it that I can do it. Let's do something else. And that I got more the feeling what I'm really good at. I like pieces where I really feel this is just my piece and I know I'm whatever extraordinary with it. Or there are pieces where I also have the feeling they're somehow for me. And sometimes I still pick pieces because they have something in it where I feel challenged.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, I want to know about that. But there are other things I'm like, oh, leave me alone with that.
No, there's well, I've always been a little picky anyway, but there's and Salome was one of the first people I met in Germany, by the way, when she was still doing more cello than anything else.
Really? You met her as a cellist?
Yes.
Cool.
In Essen, a long, long time ago.
Right. I think she studied there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Cool.
But yeah, this pickiness, there are some pieces that I just felt like they don't need my interpretation. Somebody else can do it or whatever. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah. And what are the qualities you most appreciate in composers you work with?
I appreciate the qualities of composers who really know what they want. And they can have very different languages and very different ways of writing it. I've also written like the differences between Kajia Saariaho's notation and Stockhausen's notation. But each of them has a very definite sound world that they want to transmit. And that's clear. I get most irritated when I get a very detailed score from a composer, and then when I'm trying to figure it out and decipher it, and then he'll go, "Oh, well, that doesn't matter. You can just do this." I think, no. That is extremely irritating to the point where I probably won't do it.
Yeah.
So you have to mean what you write.
Yeah, certainly. And what do you think is important? I mean, we also have lots of composers who listen to this podcast, also maybe young composers, maybe composers who still are willing to learn a lot about anything and about the flute. You play flute. And so what do you think is important for composers to know about the flute? Or what is the most important thing? Or what is the most difficult thing on a flute?
That's a lot. But okay, the most important thing, especially for young composers, is please do not reinvent the wheel. Please do not try to be creative and make up your own notation. For example, because this wastes so much of our time. I really think someone should do their homework. There are several good volumes about how to, if you want to use the so-called extended techniques, which in the meantime are just advanced techniques. There are so many manuals that you can find. There's so many examples of scores. I would say you listen to scores and interpretations. And if you're writing for someone specifically, speak with them and figure out, because there's leeway. There's not always one way of writing things, but each performer would have their preferred way of notation. So
cool.
If you can check that out, that would be very helpful. We performers, and you know this too, we've wasted so much time sometimes deciphering things.
Yeah.
And rewriting things, and like even rhythmically, if a composer's trying to do 3 against 5 or 3 over groups of 4, you can still notate it in 4/4 time, and we will be careful not to emphasize on the bar line if you want it not emphasized on the bar line. But it's just easier to use as classic notation.
And is there anything specific about flute? I mean, I think the notation thing probably
it's for everybody,
applies
right?
to everybody.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, they should know the range of the flute.
Yes,
That's what can be done. But yeah, I don't know.
I wondered if, in singing, I often find that the most obvious thing some composers don't think about, which is breathing.
Breathing. Oh, yeah. Well, there's that.
And sometimes they write lines, and no singer on this whole world can sing it on one breath. Right. And I always say them, it doesn't matter, but then you give it away to the interpreter, because I have to make then a decision how to do that. And flute was also a breathing instrument.
Exactly. And some people circular breathe. I don't actually, but that's one thing. But I know when I was starting out, especially in grad school and working with composers, and I'd get a score that I couldn't do. At the time, I didn't know whether it's because I'm just not that good a flutist for that, or if the composer doesn't know what he's doing. In the meantime, I've said to composers, please compose what you'd like to hear, and if it seems impossible, let's find a solution. So whether it's the breathing, the long lines, or if it's like a multiphonic that doesn't really work, what can we do? Multiphonics, multiple tones, if we can add the voice, or if we figure out a different thing. So I'm more open to experimenting things. It's not necessarily that when I say don't reinvent the wheel, just for given things. But if you want a specific sound, let's talk about an experiment with it. So after you've done your homework. So
it sounds like that you also really like to interact with the composer and really figure it out together. Nice. And so that's a nice invitation that you're so open about this.
Yes.
And actually, there's one composer you worked with a lot for a very long time. It's the wonderful Kajia Saariaho.
Right.
And how did you meet her, and how did this all develop?
We met at Darmstadt at the summer courses, the Ferienkurse für neue Musik. We were standing in line at the cafeteria. And she says I was one that talked to her, which is probably correct, because she was always very, very shy. And I was just saying hi. And we became friends. And in fact, we were friends long before we started collaborating together. Because at the time, I was still working with Stockhausen.
Okay.
And when she gave me her piece, she had a completely different way of notating. And I was trying to ask her, what does this mean? And I thought she didn't know what she was doing, right?
Wow.
Then after a while, when I finally figured it out, I was going to play it. Then I realized that she bases on breath and more elasticity, in a whole different language. I've written about it on my website for that. But we've been friends. We had been friends since 1982, I guess, was the first Darmstadt where we were. And I played her piece then shortly after. And eventually she started writing for me. And then since then, there was everything.
Yeah, you basically did everything.
Yeah.
A very close collaboration.
It was really, really sad when she died last year because it's not only that my main musical collaboration had disappeared, but she was also one of my best friends, and we were just always in touch. So it's been an adjustment. Yeah. But I'm just so thankful for the body of music that she's left.
Yeah, certainly. So that's amazing. I also love her music, and I like singing it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, she's very good with vocal.
Yes, she is.
Lines.
She is.
Yeah.
And so how was this collaboration? I mean, you could bring in your ideas as well, or she also.
Yeah, I've also
tried it out with you.
That was a combination. There was always some kind of input from both sides, but sometimes she would just write a piece and then give it to me to interpret after I'd worked with her things many times. Or there was, for example, the Sombre, which was one of the last chamber pieces that she wrote for me, which was, 2012 already. We actually flew to the Rothko Chapel in Houston because it was a commission from them. And I had my bass flute, and she wanted to hear sounds in the chapel. And she had written some things, and I was just improvising, and she'd stop, well, what was this? And then she'd write that down. And so we had a combination of ideas. So that was very interactive.
And would you say then that flute was then also one of her favorite instruments?
Yeah, she says that. Flute was one of her favorite, and cello was the other. And of course, she's written for voice.
I know. She wrote for voice and any
flute
instrument.
And cello were the first instruments there. So
wonderful. And how do your friends, family, colleagues, or audience react to the sort of music you make? And how do you deal with their reactions?
This is really funny. My family is a very good example. Sometime after I'd been in Europe for some years, I'd been working with Stockhausen and with Saariaho and with some Romanian composers and things. I went back to my hometown, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I played a solo recital, such that the same kind that I always play in Europe. And I remember playing a couple Stockhausen pieces, and of course from memory and with different costumes, and Saariaho and some other things. And my parents were in the audience, and this was the first time they had heard me. And then afterwards, my dad came up, he said, "How did you do that?" And I said, "What?" She said, "Nobody left." I thought that was so funny. I said, "Dad, of course they don't leave, because I've embodied the music. I've learned it, and when I'm on the stage, I'm communicating with the audience. They don't have a chance to leave because I'm putting the music in the room there." So that was quite funny. And then fast forward to, several years again, the symphony wanted to invite me. And they didn't want the Saariaho concerto, which was what my agent had offered to them, but they asked me to do C.P.E. Bach D minor, and I said, "Well, okay, whatever." So I've played that many times. And then by this time, my mother called me up. She said, "Well, can you do that?" Because she was so used to the idea that I do new music now, she forgot that I'm actually a classically trained flutist, and I haven't given up Bach and everybody else while I'm doing it. So I thought that was a really nice change.
That is really nice. Yes. So as you said, you came also from the classical training, but you also think that's valuable for.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There was a brief time, I think in the 70s or 80s, where people who couldn't play classic did new music or old music, traverso. But I think that period is long gone. And a classical training, you learn all the basics anyway. So definitely.
I perceive it as the same, that it gives me a very good foundation to do whatever, even though then I had to figure it out, because I don't know, with the flute, if you do funny things, the flute might forgive you, but
with the voice you have to be careful.
Yes, it's my body and my chords, and I cannot buy new ones or so.
Right.
But I always felt that it's just extending my world instead of hurting me or something.
Oh, this is another thing. This is one of just a side thing. One of the funniest gigs I had was as a vocalist.
You were a vocalist.
It was because Stockhausen had written in the opera Montag. He had written for choir, and there was a scene on the stage where people are pushing baby buggies, and they have to inhale before they push. So they're going, oh, like this, right? And the choir refused to do it because they thought it was harmful to their vocal cords. Oh. So Stockhausen called me up and said, hey, can you do this inhaling, and can you find somebody else to do the alto part with you? I was a soprano. So I said, sure. So, wow. So I called my friend, who's also a flutist, and we first had, I think we had training with Peter Oetfusch, and we would count 1, 2, and then finally we went to play for the master, and then he goes, yeah, a little bit more breath, a little bit more voice. So this was, and we got paid lots and lots of money. Cool. And at the end, we thought our voices were much, much better. So from all the micro tuning, but that was a memorable gig.
Well, the thing is, if you, I'm sure it's the same with the flute. If you can really do anything with your breath, with your voice, to sing whatever kind of breathy or not breathy or whatever, if you do it consciously, you're a master.
Right. You have to be aware of what you're doing and which parts of your body.
The problem is always also when I teach, when people whatever have a breathy voice and they don't know what they do.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But if I can choose it on purpose, I'm fine.
Yeah. I mean, with anything else, you shouldn't have your neck way back, and you should try to be balanced, etc., etc. So we'll spare our listeners the details of our methods. But anyway,
do you think there is prejudice against new music, and if so, what can we do about this to bring it closer to even a bigger audience, more audience?
There probably always is, but right now, new music, if someone would ever say, oh, I don't like new music, there is such a plethora of styles right now. I would say, excuse me, your ignorance is showing. Because new music, there's just everything. I know. So I don't know. But I remember, I think, to the Veranstalter, to the producers, I think the burden is often on them, that they have to trust their audience more. In fact, Düsseldorf was the home of a great prejudice. I had chamber music from Kammermusik in Nordrhein-Westfalen. I was playing with my pianist, and it was produced by WDR. I was working with Stockhausen at the time, but they didn't want me to play Stockhausen, and the most modern piece that we were allowed to play was Prokofiev.
Oy.
And we thought, well, okay, it's a nice little concert in Meerbusch, so we'll play it anyway. But interestingly enough, after the concert, people liked it, but they said, well, why didn't you play Stockhausen? Because by that time, they knew that I also played Stockhausen. And I thought, well, tell that to the WDR producers at the time, So I think the audiences can take much more than people think. And that goes back to, like, how do people react when I play? If it's an audience that's not used to it, then of course I explain something to take pressure off listening. You don't have to understand, or what can you listen for. There can be some kind of bridge, but otherwise we hear so many strange sounds anyway in film and in daily life that in the meantime I think ears are much wider open than people think.
Yeah. I hope that things will even continue and grow.
The advice would be just keep playing and playing.
Certainly.
And of course, it also you have to play things that you're convinced with. Not just sight reading because that's the gig. Because audience pick up on that if you don't really like the piece or if it's not really prepared. So
I often had the feeling, which not maybe also sounds a little bit bad when I say that. When I kind of started out, I often had the feeling that there was also new music that was badly performed, and so I always thought, well, if it's badly performed, how should it convince an audience? But in the last 10 years or so, or even longer, I mean, we have so many very good specialized ensembles. I mean, there's such a high level now where
and people are dedicated.
Where I really say, if you listen it in this kind of quality. You can't get away. Yeah, you can't get away with just kind of whipping it off and calling it good because they won't know the difference anyway. That doesn't work anymore. No. Yeah. Well, you have an interesting life. I also heard that you travel a lot for different reasons. And you're playing so much, have worked with many great people. And I'm always curious if you have any kind of time management, or do you structure your day, or can you tell us anything about what helps you?
That's an ongoing discussion with myself, because I've done a lot of studying also for coaching. I also did several courses to become a coach during COVID.
Cool.
As a result of all my various life experiences. And I figured out that I'm the kind of person who works best in phases. There are some people that can get up and have their routine, and that just does not work with me. I have to be inspired. I have to get ready. There are, of course, methods to inspire yourself and get you going. But I tend to work very intensively when I'm on a project and not worry about it when I'm not. So
that's good. So you're kind of off and on.
Yeah, exactly. But there was another thought there about the traveling. This is the other thing about routine. Even with cooking, if I'm traveling all the time, it's hard to get a routine of what you do, and then you change places. You're in Japan for a month, or you're traveling to France, or to my husband in North Carolina. So, but what I've decided is that this is all part of why I became a flutist, and what my flute is to me. And this is an aspect that goes beyond the music. The flute happens to be my instrument, and I mean instrument in the technical sense. Because of my flute, I've been put in these situations where I have to adapt to different countries, to different ways of working, different people that I stay with, different musicians. We have music as a common language, yes, to a certain extent, but getting around it and producing concerts in different countries all has its different challenges and different joys. So I think I've learned a lot about adaptability, and also that not everybody just reacts. Well, even just coming to Germany, the difference between everyday life in Germany and America, especially in 1980, was just really a contrast. So, but all this learning. You could also do it by being a taxi driver, doing whatever your métier is. But for me, it was flute. And the way my flute as a freelancer and as a traveling soloist is, it precludes a certain amount of routine. So I just can't do it for more than a couple of weeks. So,
but you're also good at how travel works, or I don't know, how to get to the airport and all those.
That's no big
stuff,
deal,
and
right?
How to find the hotel or whatever.
I'm
are
comfortable
important
downtown
to set up or not.
No.
And I think it's interesting that you also talk about this quality. I think that probably a lot of musicians have, because we travel a lot and that we adapt things, and I often feel that we have so many side talents next to whatever playing our instrument really well. We in a way we have to be organized and there's so much. I think we're really very amazing.
We have to do a lot more than we learned in school. That's for sure. And even I've had agents at certain times in my life, but I didn't really need them to book a flight or a train for me. I'm really good at that, and I know how to do that. But for the other business aspects, that would be great.
Yeah. Cool. What are you thankful for today?
I'm thankful that I'm allowed to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I have this freedom, and I've always said that I'm very wealthy. And various partners say, Camilla, you're not wealthy. It's not always reflected in the bank account, but I think this life is so wealthy. It's so full of gifts. I have freedom. I can choose the music I want. I can choose when, basically. I hate it when it all happens at the same time. But yeah, and I get to see places that people pay a lot of money to go to. I've been going to Japan as a guest since 1984. I'm extremely grateful for that. So I still think I'm very wealthy.
Yes, you are. And who or what has played the greatest role in shaping you, and what inspires you?
That's a difficult question, because I think there have been so many. People always cut it out of my biography, but I always give credit also to my other college professors, my philosophy professor, my early music professor, and things like that. But I'm not sure I can just answer that. Of course, the family, but my family needed convincing, so it wasn't like my parents said, just go for it. So I don't know. My flute teachers have been very, very interesting. None of them have been actually interested in new music, but they had inquisitive minds, and they were also, they opened the world up to me. So Darlene Dugan in Michigan, Alexander Murray, who's still living in London, he opened my mind to many, many things besides music. Many people.
And what does it mean for you to be true to yourself or authentic in this music business? And how do you keep true to yourself?
Ideally, I take time to think about how it feels. If this is something I really want to be doing right now, or if I just feel like I should be doing it.
Can you feel the difference then, or?
Yeah, when things click.
Okay.
Yeah, especially that's a really fun process when, and I often have like a carte blanche to make a recital program, and then like Qual der Wahl, that's a great German expression.
Yes.
The agony of decision, because you have all these things, but then you start with a few key pieces that you want. And then you think, well, I should play his because he wrote that, this, and then, and you can always do a little bit of that, because everybody who writes me a piece, yes, I play it. So whether it becomes the standard in my repertoire is another thing. But when you finally figure out an order or a group of pieces, that's also a click. You just feel like, oh yeah, this is it. So I think that's the same with other daily decisions. It's just right. Like if I've had to say no to something, I really can't go to this event, I'll feel a real lightness afterwards. Like, oh, that was the right thing to do. Why didn't I do that earlier? Or if it's not, then your stomach is in knots or something. You just don't know what you're supposed to do.
Have you been always good at that, or did you develop it?
I think looking back, I wasn't aware of it always, but I remember meeting somebody years ago, and we were having breakfast in some foreign country, and he goes, "Wow, you've always really done what you wanted, haven't you?" And it was a shock to me, because I was brought up in a very authoritarian family, and every time I felt like I was doing something I want, my dad would remind me that the world does not revolve around Camilla. It's just like, so when somebody says, "Oh, you've always done what you want," then I thought, wow. Let me think. Well, yeah, okay, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And if there's a situation that just gets too much, or I'm not growing in, or like with the relationship that's no longer working, I will leave. I mean, I've always done that. And musically as well. So,
yeah. So
I
you're
guess
very
this
clear.
guy was right.
That's
yeah.
good. That's good.
But I needed somebody else to tell me that before I realized, yeah, that's part of my wealth. I'm free.
Yeah. You mentioned freedom. I'm a big fan of freedom. What does success mean for you?
That.
Freedom.
To be able to be free, yes.
And do you have a vision, or what drives you forward?
This is a really interesting question, because yes, I'm driven and I still have visions, but they're not always clear. I just always know that I still have work to do, and I still feel like I have a lot of things to pass on that I've been given. I mean, I've worked with Kagel, Stockhausen, Saariaho, Globokar, all these people, and I would really like to give more. And also, even in the classical world, I've been hearing so many boring classical performances. I really want to play some more classical music. So the idea of, yes, I'm the age of retirement, but, well, for one thing, musicians don't usually retire. But I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I'm ready, even though a lot of people would say, okay, well, that's enough. But I don't feel like I've done enough. But I'm still open to getting specific instructions.
Well, I think if you're excited and you're doing well, and I mean, I love that if you continue, and we all can continue.
Well, yeah.
However old we are, and I mean, that's also a guess, a very individual decision. And so you already mentioned that you would like to pass those things on. How do you do that? Or can people approach you? Or is there a way
I do have people
with
coming from all over, actually, just for private lessons. And occasionally I give master classes. I'm due to do some pop-up Zoom master classes again. But yeah, part of me kind of regrets that I'm not in an institution where I just have a class. But that never... I was just doing other things, and I came here actually to play, so I was doing more of that. So yeah, eventually I would like to do more teaching. I love teaching. I've been teaching since I was 13. I taught the 9-year-olds, right? So, and for a long time I taught kids because I really loved to teach kids, but it got too much with my traveling that I couldn't just keep up, even with my good assistant. Yeah. So, maybe if I get tired of traveling, I'll settle down and teach. But
I also found it interesting since I have been in New York last fall. I'm also involved in a raga class, and they also asked me now to teach like technique because they are the good ones at the raga singing, which I enjoy too. But they asked me to help with technique, and that's so nice. I also teach a few classes with my New Yorker people, and it's so fun because you can do it with Zoom. And now also I have a student in Quebec and so on. It's really interesting what is now possible.
There are so many things. And we didn't even talk. The other thing I do is I improvise with art. And I've been doing that for 30 years. And I've just asked to teach that in Geneva next fall. So
super.
Yeah, there's so many aspects and so many ways we can have this
it's great
outlet,
that people can get a little bit of your wisdom and your experience. And also with the coaching, people could also contact you and
they can
help you.
Right. And I thought all the things that I've been through, like I went to a foreign country. My parents had disowned me first because I was married out of college, divorced out of grad school, ran away to Europe, right? In the meantime, everything was fine. We're great. Yeah. But I went through that, through the parents, through partner changing, through being a freelance, through coming here as a street musician, not having a mentor to find my way in Germany. So all that, I thought, well, actually I can help people and help them keep resilient through all that. So that was my thinking when I took this. Of course, when COVID finished, I was really busy doing concerts again, and so I didn't actually officially launch a business, but it's there.
It's there.
And people contact me.
That's cool.
Once in a while, so that's great.
Super. So we're actually at our last question, and I would like to know, which tip would you like to give young artists?
That's easy. That's really easy, because I think what... it's easy because that's what's worked for me. But I think it's most important that you follow your interests. Really stick to what you want to do. If you really want to be in an orchestra, don't let anybody tell you there are no orchestra jobs. Just stick with it and follow it and hang around the orchestras. If you want to be an improviser, hang around improvisers. Do this. Follow what interests you. Same thing for college jobs, for new music ensembles, for teaching, for solo careers. I was teaching in Duisburg for a while. Had a Lehrauftrag, and one of my students had said, I asked her, well, what do you want to do? She said, I want to do what you do. I said, well, do it. And she said, oh, no, my dad says that you're just an exception. I said, well, no. The thing is, if I'm doing it, anybody can do it, right? I mean, I wasn't supposed to be able to have a freelance career doing new music, and here I am 40 years later in Germany doing this. So just follow what interests you. And I have to add why this really became very, very clear to me is that I had a duo with a pianist in the 80s, and she was very good at business, and she had gone to New York and picked up brochures and said, okay, we've got to have a professional one in the front cover, a smiley one in the back, and we have to send out letters and say, here's our program, da-da-da. So we followed the rules. We sent out 80 letters. We got maybe one maybe and yes. It was pathetic. And at the same time, I had found a Japanese piece at Musikhaus Tonger that wasn't even supposed to be there, but it was a really cool piece of shakuhachi music. And I learned it, and I was interested in the composer, and I wrote to the publisher to see if this composer had any more pieces. The long story short of that is that the composer, out of the blue, he wrote me a concerto and invited me to Japan. Right? And those two things happened like at the same time. One of them that I was trying by the book, trying to do what you're supposed to do, and one I was just following what I was really interested in. And so I've been going to Japan ever since then, right? So follow your interests.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds
pretty
good.
Amazing.
Wow, really good. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, Camilla.
Thank you for letting me talk. Great.
This was the interview from today. I hope that it inspired you. And please send me your emails, send me your feedback, because I love to interact with you. Thank you very much that you tuned in with me today. I really, really hope that you liked it. And please tell your friends and colleagues about this podcast. I thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Live your music, live your life, and see you next time. Yours, Irene.